Hello, this is Joni Barrett with Out the Box Mind Body Studio, and I'm going to show you guys a really nice way to work on some mobility for my runners with some mobility sticks. Those the orange sticks that I have behind me. So we're going to play with those. So first of all, I need to make sure that we do just a little bit of warm up for the shoulders, and just so you have kind of an idea of where the shoulders, they need to be in their sockets at all times. So I'm just going to have you bring your arms to where the arm bones come into the socket, and the socket is where the scapula is. So we're just going to touch here. And as we're doing the warm-ups, I just need you to just monitor and just make sure that the bone, the arm bone itself, doesn't push out of its socket. So we're just going to bring the arms forward, and you're just going to go nice and slow. You're just monitoring, just noticing. And bring them back out. And this in itself is a really nice way to strengthen through the rotator cuff. You roll up, and then you can kind of monitor to make sure that the shoulders aren't rising up to the ears, but in fact you are rolling back. You can walk out, find that little notch where the collarbone is, and just kind of push it back to open it up a little bit more if you need to. And then you're just going to bring the arms back forward. And again, you're just making sure we don't have the shoulders going up by the ears. And they're out to the sides, and maybe this time they might go back a little bit further. And as they start to draw back, these arm bones stay in their sockets. This is all coming from the shoulder blade, or the scapula. Just nice and slow, just noticing that. You can imagine that you're going to lengthen from the elbows out to the side evenly, and that will give you a little bit more space as the arms move. And then we'll bring them back. And again, this in itself is a really nice way to just kind of feel what those shoulder blades are doing. Now I'm going to show you what you don't want to see. So as you open, you don't want this. You don't want the arm bones to come out of their sockets. Okay, so again, it's just a nice forward, arm bones still in their sockets. And as they go out, you're going to feel the shoulder blades kick in. If you need to open the collarbones a little bit, just kind of roll that back. And a few times through, it might be warm enough to bring the arms up overhead. And if you notice when I bring my arms up overhead, I haven't pushed my pelvis forward. So what that would look like is this. We don't want that. I want to really think of keeping that neutral pelvis, just whatever range you have. And then as you come back down, we're still making sure those arm bones are in their sockets. And then we're going to bring the arms back together. And then from here, we're going to let the arms turn so that the knuckles are towards each other. And then we're just going to float the arms out. And so what I want you to think of is like there's a big ball between your fingertips. So the fingers are a little bit bent. The wrist is a little bent. The elbow is just a little bit bent as well. And I want you to think about drawing the shoulder blades a little closer to each other. And again, you see my arm bones aren't coming out of their sockets. And then we're just going to bring the elbows into a little bit of extension. And a little bend. If you notice my fingers keep the same shape, we're not going to let that fingertip shape change. And out. And again, this is a nice little warm up because we got to be able to feel these muscles. And this time as the arms come into their shape, like you're holding that ball, we're going to bring the arms down, keep the shape of the fingers. Arms are still in their sockets. We're going to let the arms come behind us because ultimately when we're running, that's where the arms are going, and it's going to keep this shape. Arm bone is in its socket, little bend to the elbow, little bend to wrist, fingertips lightly curled. So what it shouldn't look like is this. We don't want this. You want here. Always want to keep that arm in its socket. So when it's in its socket, I'm feeling that my shoulder blade is stabilizing. Okay, so we're going to start to come into some mobility sticks. Always want to think when we're doing the mobility sticks that these bones are in their socket. You don't ever feel this bone pushing forward. You're going to constantly think like thumbs here. We're going to just get broad through the chest. It's going to open this space up, and when we open this space up, it's going to make the muscles in the back contract and work, which is what we want. So again, ultimately when we're running, this is the shape of our arm, and then it moves, but we still have that shape, and that's going to let the torso rotate instead of it just be a punch of the arms. So I'm going to go ahead and pick up the shorter stick, and they come in different sizes, so this is the one for me, and I'm just going to bring that to the front. The other thing to remember is that the fingers stay pretty light, no death grip. The palm makes contact. We want the palm to make contact because that's what's going to help strengthen that shoulder girdle as well. And the thumb can either wrap or it can stay with the other digits, whichever feels the best to you. And it's got this nice tape on it, so you can just make sure that you're even as you hold on to that mobility stick. So when the arms start to lift, you're going to keep track of those shoulder sockets, making sure they don't push forward. And as the arms start to come up, you're going to feel, I want you to go super slow, you're going to feel the muscles in the back start to engage. So at this point, fingers are forward, elbows slightly bent, shoulders in their socket, feel the back of the muscles working. Those are your rhomboids. As the arms come up, I still have my shape. As the arms come up, I'm only going to go as far as I can go to keep my shape. So at no time do I want the arm bones themselves to push forward. You're going to wrap to the midline with those abs, a little bit of a drop of the pubic bone. My fingertips are still pointed forward. And I'm going to think about opening up the collarbones, and my arms are going to start to go behind my head. But fingers are still forward, wrist is still forward, elbow is still slightly bent. And if you want, you can give just a little outward pull. It's an isometric. It can help fire those muscles in the back if you're not feeling it. And then we're going to start to descend and come down. And we're going to think fingertips, wrist, elbows, arms are still in their sockets. And here, if it helps, you can lightly push it together, isometric, and come all the way back down and through. So we'll go through it again. And when you're doing these on your own, you're going to want to go pretty slow so you can feel all of that. So we're going to start to lift, and I'm thinking fingertips, wrist, elbow. I start to feel my abdominals being used. Use your abdominals. For me, about right here, that's where I feel the back of the body start to kick in. Fingers are still forward, wrists slightly flexed, elbows slightly flexed. I'm going to think about drawing the shoulder blades are going to come closer, but let the draw of the shoulder blades happen because you need them to. So don't try to pinch them together, just let them do their thing. Feel the opening across the front of the chest, drop the pubic bone down a little bit, draw the abs to the midline, and again, you're only going to go as far as you can keep that shape. The arms don't push out of their sockets, and then we'll reverse it. And you can do about 5 of these. This is a really nice, again, a nice prep for making sure that we have our shoulders in their sockets and start to turn on those back body muscles. Now we're going to add to this. So after you've done about 5 of those, moving nice and slow, we're going to bring the arms back up. And again, you can use that little push together if you need to, especially if your chest muscles are not automatically coming on. Fingers are still forward. We're going to lift the arms up to whatever your extension is, where the arms are still in their socket. A little tug apart of the pole isometrically, and start to bring the arms down, but keep that shape. Shoulders in socket, elbows, wrist, fingertips. You should just feel the pole lightly brush the back of the head. The head doesn't have to move forward. Fingers are still light and free, no death grip. You can feel the palm making contact. Little outward tug. The arms come back up. Abs are still on. Nice and strong. Hugging to the midline. And then we're going to start to descend. So I'm going to show that from the side. All the way down, nice and slow. just so you can see what's happening to the side. It's really important that you monitor your shoulders, because when you're running, you're going to want to monitor your shoulders. So get in the habit of doing it here. Big toe ball joints together, little heel gap, hug to the midline, fingertips, little wrist, little bend, start to come up. I can do a little bit of compression towards the middle, isometric to feel those chest muscles. I can do a little bit of pull apart, feel those back muscles, fingers still forward, wrist, elbow, arm bones still in their sockets. I'm going to feel the back of my body working, and that's about where my body wants to go. Pull apart and start to bring it down. And you might feel a little bit of shaking, like I'm feeling a little bit of shaking. That's okay. That's just some weakness. Keep breathing the entire time. And if you notice, as it comes down, the head doesn't move forward. So don't let the head push forward. You really want those arms to come behind. Once it's down, reverse direction, nice and slow. Hugging to the midline. Feel the muscles in the back. These are going to be your rhomboids and your traps that you're noticing here. And once you're all the way back up, fingertips, wrist, elbows, shoulders still in their sockets. Push together if the chest didn't automatically kick in, and come all the way down. So you can do about 5 of those as well, going really nice and slow. You want to feel all those places. You want to feel any place that you have the need to like break a wrist over, and break a wrist over is this, or the fingertips lift, up into a position that's not here, because all of those things can affect your shoulder girdle, and we want to have nice strong shoulders. So those are a really nice way to warm up too, so taking that progression. And then I'm going to go ahead and grab my longer pole, and again, for me this is a longer pole. And now I'm going to do a little bit of a lat stretch, so I'm going to bring my hand up to the top, but you'll notice that I still have this nice shape, little bend, still in its socket, knees together, and I'm just going to drop down. Now I really am going to make sure that my pelvis stays level, so I don't want to drop down and let one side sag, so you'll just need to kind of kinesthetically touch. And all we're looking to do is just lengthen right here all the way down to the hip. And it should feel pretty good. Like I say, don't let the pelvis sag, don't let it hip hike, because that lat is attached to that hip. And then we can do a little contact with the hand and come back up, and then we'll do it on the other side. And you might notice the difference between the sides, and that's good information. And again, think fingertips, little bend to wrist, the elbow, shoulders in its socket, the knees start to come down. You can think drop the pubic bone first, wrap those abs, hips stay level. You're looking for a right in through here, a stretch. And depending on how tight you are in here, it might be one of those sensations where you go, I don't know what that is, like if you've not felt that stretch before. So just kind of get a good sense of it. We want those muscles to be lengthened. And you can stay for like 6 breaths, just a nice, and just letting gravity kind of do its job here. And then initiate with the hand, bring yourself back up, and straighten back up. Okay, so then the next one is going to be another lat exercise, but you're going to want to do the lengthening one first. So you're going to find your ankle bone here, and you're going to place the pole anywhere along this distance. Now it's got a little rubber tip, so it's not going to slide, but if you have a mat and you're worried about it sliding, stick it on a mat. The closer it is to the ankle bone, the more challenging. The further away, the easier it becomes. This arm, again, you've got contact with the palm, the fingers are fairly light, thumb can stay with the digits, elbow bends. The top arm is going to come up, arm bone stays in its socket, so keep that shape, and reaches over. Now when you reach over, a lot of times the temptation is to do it this way. We don't want that. We want level pelvis. We're trying to teach that pelvis as runners to stay as steady as it can. So you're going to find that pull, and again, make contact with palm. All of the digits make contact. Lightly wrap. The thumb can be with the digits, especially with this one. And then we're going to push and pull at exactly the same time. And hold and keep that pelvis level. And then bring it back. Now this one is going to be more of a strengthener than it is going to be like a stretch. So it might not feel like a stretch. It might feel very challenging. So if you're finding it's too challenging, just walk that out again. And bring the arm up. Keep that shape. Find that pull. Contact with the palm. Light wrap of the digits. Still light wrap here. And find that push-pull at the exact same time. And that is in itself a little bit of neurological retraining for the body, because the arms always have push-pull. So if a lot of times the tendency is to push and we forget to pull. So if you're finding that to be the case, probably what's going to happen is you're going to break your wrist over. So if you feel that breaking of the wrist, you know that you're not getting that really good push-pull. Okay? And then of course you're going to do it on both sides. One side isn't necessarily like the other side. So fingers, thumb, elbow. I like to bring the arm up and through this way when I'm reaching over, just because it helps me keep the shape. So I'm still in the shape, and bring the arm up and make contact with that pole. And same thing here. Push, pull at the exact same time. And release at the same time. So that's more of a way to strengthen that push-pull feeling in the body and to kind of remind it that it has that capacity. So you could do 3 to 5 of those, making sure you do the lengthening first. So the next one I'm going to have you do is going to be back to the shorter pull for me. And we're going to do up and overs with the arms. So you're going to walk the arms out as far as you need. Wrap the digits lightly. Again, thumb can join them or thumb can go on this side, whatever feels the best to you. Big toe ball joints pressed together, little tiny heel gap, hug to the midline. You're going to drop that pubic bone down and you're going to start to lift. So the exact same lift that we did for the very beginning warm-up. As we start to come up and over, you're going to pull that pole apart. As the arms go over, you're going to think about the arms staying in their sockets and coming all the way over. Now, if you get all the way over and you can't get back, you can just let go of the back and bring it back around the front. So it would be, if you can't come all the way back over, you can just let go and bring it back to the front. If it turns into this, you've gone too far and you just need to work up to it. Arms stay in their socket. So one trick that you can do when you're trying to learn this is to really sit back in your butt. The more you sit back in your butt, the easier the exercise becomes. And back up and over. And you're really thinking about keeping that shape. Again, you don't want to go into a place where the arm bones push forward. They want to stay in their socket the whole way over as you go. And you should just feel almost like it just kind of rolls over and back up and over. It's almost like a rolling action. So you can do, again, 3 to 5 of those, and what that's going to do is really open up this chest. It's going to really teach you to use those back muscles. So once you're comfortable with that one, then the next one you're going to do is going to be putting this into play where we do a staggered stance. So we're going to come down onto our lunge position. Okay, the back foot is in its plantar flexed position. So the foot is down. We want to make sure that the thighs are a little bit internally rotated just because we don't want to have to think about them once we're there, so we'll just set that up. So we're just going to toe in slightly, make sure we're internally rotated. Back as well, a little bit of internal rotation. Wrap the abs. Make contact with your stick, and I have my shorter one, but you can use whatever size you want for this one. Make contact lightly with the digits. In fact, maybe even just like squiggle them around a little bit, just to make sure you're not making too much tension there. And so as you come up, we're still thinking fingertips, wrist, elbow, come all the way into whatever your extension is. All right, and then you're going to pull down. Now it's going to feel very different than whenever we were standing 2 feet. So master the 2 feet before you take it to a staggered, but this is essentially running. It's going to tap, and we're going to press back up. And you're gonna, if you notice, I got a little shaking going on there. That's not a bad thing. Just kind of pay attention to where it is. And then I'm gonna let the arms come down. Again, paying attention to the shape of the arm, keeping them in their sockets. And about chest level, I'm gonna take my right hand and I'm gonna pull and come into rotation. The pelvis is not gonna move. It's gonna be the torso. And as you come through, eyes just follow the stick, especially that back hand. And then we'll come back to the center. Eyes just follow. And then we'll go the other way. The opposite hand starts to pull. Feel those abdominals working, hugging to the midline. Try not to let a lot of wibble wobble happen. And back. And that's one full round. Okay, and then we'll get it on the other side. Top of the foot's back, little internal rotation of both front and back. Hug to the midline, that can help with that internal rotation as well. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. And remember, we're looking for the pelvis to stay fairly level. All right, hands make contact, light with the digits. Bring it up, about eye level. We start to come up and over, and you can do a little bit of isometric pull apart if you need. Look for those arms staying in their sockets. Remember, part of the trick of keeping them in their sockets is that shape of the arm, because that's what we're looking for when we run too. When you've reached kind of your full extension, the more you do it, the fuller the extension becomes, and then start to pull down. I'm starting to get just a little bit of shake in that right arm, so I'm just going to pause right there. Just kind of let it work. Check my shape, and bring it down again. I'll just feel it tap. I'll know I'm there, and slowly come back up, keeping the shape. Right. So you can see this is my side that's not as steady, but this is good. This is like great information. Great way to feel those places where you're not steady. Arms come all the way up, still light with the fingers, still have the shape of the arm, and start to descend. Paying attention to my shape, paying attention that my arms are still in their sockets. It's about chest level. My left arm will start to pull me into rotation. The eyes just track with that left arm. Feeling that really good oblique work. Pelvis is still level. Right arm pulls you back to the center and continues to pull you in the opposite direction. Eyes are tracking with that right arm.